singing sad songs. And he used to say, he had so many profundities when he would speak. One of the things he said was, there is great joy in sadness, because it also carves into the depth of your being. And it's so true. Even the Khalil Gibran, the prophet, says, the deeper the sorrow carves into the heart, the more joy it can contain, because it hollows you out, to feel more. So, and he recognized that. He was very philosophical. He was very well-read, very bright. A lot of people don't know that, but he was a voracious reader and really studied all kinds of religions, and was a fascinating individual.
For this being an author's event, I started out here with just books about Elvis, a biography about, or as a subject in a memoir, autobiography by someone. That he's in over 3,000 books, and all the different sides of this person. The musicians that were with him, James and Ronnie and all those guys, they saw a side of him on stage. The Mafia saw a side of him when they were the guys hanging out, and you saw another side that really not a lot of people saw.
Maybe two.
Yeah.
Maybe two people ever, 2 or 3. Because the old adage, you don't really know someone unless you live with them. And when you do live with them 24/7, you take your meals with them, you sleep with them, you wake up to them, you go to sleep saying goodnight to them, you're in a loving relationship. You see their fallibility, you see their vulnerability, you see their sensitivities, insecurities. I knew every facet of his being. I absolutely felt that during the time that I was with him, that I knew him better than anyone on the planet knew him.
Yeah.
Because he would confide in me. When you're living that intimately together, you sit in the middle of the bed and you talk for hours. And especially our lives were such that we were sequestered very often, just away from everyone, ostracized kind of. But he liked to be alone, and he liked to have his private time so that he could read and discuss what he had just read and talk about his feelings about any kind of philosophy that he had picked up and read. And he read the Bible a lot as well. So he was a very complicated person. I say this a lot, that he was in his simplicity, because he was a simple man in so many ways, but he was very complicated in that simplicity. And he was he had a duality of nature. He was very paradoxical. On the one hand, he could be like a little angel that dropped from heaven, and you just think, oh, this person is too good to be of this earth. He's angelic. And then in a moment, a flash of a moment, he could be the devil incarnate. When he was angry, he had a flash temper like no one I've ever known. So he could, he had a duality of nature that was fascinating, but sometimes frightening too.
Yeah, and all the people around him. We were talking last night at Graceland. All the people around him that, not that he didn't go out some, but the world kind of whatever he wanted. You had a great line, the mountain.
Well, he had a great line, another great line that he had. He said, honey, I don't need to go out, I'll bring the mountain to Muhammad. I don't need to visit the mountain, I'll bring the mountain to Muhammad.
Yeah.
So he would bring the world to him. He would bring, shopping things. If he wanted to buy jewelry, Lowell Hayes would bring a big tray of jewelry and open it up for him, spread it out on the bed upstairs, and clothing, things like that. He had Bill Ballou and other people bring him items of clothing to peruse through, and he would choose what he wanted to wear. So yeah, he was a relatively lonely person in a lot of ways, even though he was surrounded by the same 13 guys all the time, and me. But he would say often, he said, honey, I'm an intensely lonely person. And I would try to counter that with, but honey, look at all these beautiful fans you have. And we had this monitor in the bedroom that would show the gate. And I said, look at all those lovely people down there. They all love you. They're all here just to catch a glimpse of you. He said, I appreciate their love. And he said, but they don't know the real me. They don't know what he called little Elvis. They don't know the little boy inside me like you do. They don't know the person that, stays awake at night. They don't know, they know the Elvis Presley on the marquee.
Yeah.
But I think in a way, he was wrong about that, because I think Elvis's fans are unique in that, yes, you love his music, you love the way he looked, you know, we all did. But I think that you also have dug deeper, and I think people, his fans, appreciate his generosity, his philanthropy, just his sensitivity, his kindness. I feel like the fans love him as much for that as for his music. They loved his humanity. Or, you know, exploiting it. So I did wait 40 years until after his passing to write this book,
Yeah.
and I donated like 90% of the proceeds to St. Jude's Hospital here in Memphis. So, you know, but they could use the money more than I. And it wasn't a big money maker anyway, but that St. Jude got my check.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you. Linda Thompson, everybody.
Thank you all. Thanks for being Elvis fans.